Before we go to our second reading, I'm going to take a little detour first. And I'm going to do something I haven't done in my 3 years here at preaching at Bon Air. And I'm going to turn to the Hebrew for just a second. The word in Hebrew is ha-adam in Genesis 2. This word means human, and it is where we get the name Adam from in our story of the first humans. Ha-adam is created by God in this way in the Hebrew. Ha-adam apar min hadamah translates to the human from the dust of the ground. In this case, it isn't just dust or dirt, because earlier it was noted that there's a stream running through this land where the Creator is working. So this is not dry, ashy dust, but rather mud, slop, grime. At its very core, the first human ever on earth would have been a mud creature. This mud creature had one job: to care for the earth. There was no one else around to see this creature working, how they cared for the animals, how they tended to the soil, how they were lonely, with no companion, no recognition, and no praise. I imagine it was quiet and calm. I imagine this creature struggling to find the motivation to continue on day after day. And I'm sure there were times that the creature wanted to scream, but no one would have heard. I wonder if the creature ever felt like there was no one else to blame if they made a mistake, alone in the world, working so hard with no one to tell about it. Before we get to our next reading, I want to invite us to take a few minutes of silence. This is going to be weird and uncomfortable, but I invite you to maybe think about the times that you felt like you were working alone, whether this is a relationship or around the church, assisting with the needs of a family member, maybe job or school. I want you to consider how that felt when you were like the mud creature with no one around. Let's take a few minutes and I will call us back. We'll call us back into this space and in this time. Call us out of those thoughts, out of our bodies, out of our minds, to be present here with the Spirit in this place as we turn to Isaiah. Isaiah 58 reads as follows. Shout loudly, don't hold back. Raise your voice like a trumpet. Announce to my people their crime, to the house of Jacob their sins. They seek me day after day, desiring knowledge of my ways, like a nation that acted righteously, that didn't abandon their God. They ask me for righteous judgments, wanting to be close to God. Why do we fast and you don't see? Why afflict ourselves and you don't notice? Yet on your fast day, you do whatever you want and oppress all your workers. You quarrel and brawl, and then you fast. You hit each other violently with your fists. You shouldn't fast as you are doing today if you want to make your voice heard on high. Is this the kind of fast I choose? A day of self-affliction, of bending one's head like a reed, and of lying down in mourning clothing and ashes? Is this what you call a fast, a day acceptable to the Lord? Isn't this the fast I choose? Releasing wicked restraints, untying the ropes of a yoke, and setting free the mistreated, breaking every yoke. Isn't it sharing your bread with the hungry and bringing the homeless poor into your house, covering the naked when you see them, and not hiding from your own family? Then your light will break out like the dawn, and you will be healed quickly. Your own righteousness will walk before you, and the Lord's glory will be your rear guard. Then you will call, and the Lord will answer. You will cry for help, and God will say, I am here. If you remove the yoke from among you, the finger pointing, the wicked speech, if you open your heart to the hungry and provide abundantly for those who are afflicted, your light will shine in the darkness, and your gloom will be like the noon. The Lord will guide you continually and provide for you, even in parched places. He will rescue your bones. You will be like a watered garden, like a spring of water that won't run dry. They will rebuild ancient ruins on your account. The foundations of generations past you will restore. And you will be called mender of broken walls, restorer of livable streets. If you stop trampling the Sabbath, stop doing whatever you want on my holy day, and consider the Sabbath a delight, sacred to the Lord, honored, and honor it instead of doing things your way, seeking what you want and doing business as usual. Then you will take delight in the Lord. I will let you ride on the highs of the earth. I will sustain you with the heritage of your ancestor Jacob. The mouth of the Lord has spoken. Friends, this too is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. So reading both of our readings today, does the second reading make any of us feel a little bit better? It sure makes me feel better. Direct permission to yell out loudly and not hold back. Worshiping and not just fasting for show, freeing the mistreated, being guided by God continually. Sign me up. Now, some of you may try to get ahead of me and think that you know where I'm going to go with all this. Maybe we're never alone with God. God sees everything, the usual feel-good themes. I'd like to go in a different direction tonight, if that is okay with you. I want to focus more on for whom do we do and why do we do it? Let's think about this. If you serve at the food pantry, I ask you why. Not because I don't think you should do it, you definitely should, but why do you do it? Are you selflessly giving back to those in need? Are you fulfilling your good service quota for the year? Have you built relationships that you want to maintain through this service? Does it make you feel good? Do you do it because you think it might be pleasing to God? Not a single one of these answers is a negative thing in my eyes, by the way. It's not uncommon for college students to do service work somewhere for two reasons. One, for college credit, and two, to spend more time with their friends. And I think it's great because service is still service. I think what Isaiah is getting at here is less about the motivation behind the service and more about how it affects our actions afterwards. Do you consider yourself to be a better person than someone else because you have served? Are you on a higher pedestal because of the work that you have done? Of course not. You are not omitted from the righteous judgment. It is, after all, about those after actions. Isaiah's not giving us a how-to here. If you notice, most of the phrases are in lists and questions, mere suggestions for your consideration. Why do we afflict ourselves and you don't notice? Is this what I choose? Is it sharing your bread or housing the unhomed or clothing the naked? And Isaiah has some more. Again, I'm calling them recommendations. What if we remove the finger pointing? What if we open our hearts? What if we open our hearts? What if we remembered what it was like to be a mud creature, alone in the world with no rewards for our work, no people to be better than or more mighty than, and no one else to blame or point fingers out if something goes wrong? Maybe you're already doing this work, working hard, whether it's with your service or your vote, your voice, or your marching. I know that so many of you are. But we are called, especially entering this season of Lent, to continue this work, even when we don't think anyone is looking, and dive into it ourselves. We can be sure that we are respecting God and respecting ourselves. God doesn't need you to be better. God needs you to be you. You don't need to fake humility. You already have it. God is guiding you and water is flowing. It's that very same water that mixed with the dust to create the first creature. And it is the very same dust that we will return to later when we rejoin with the earth. So let's be good soil. We don't want to rejoin the dirt, spoiled and proud. We are called to leave it all on the line. The first human was asked to do one small thing, and it's the very same thing we are called to do today, and that is to care for the earth. Treat the planet right. Treat our friends right, our communities, the oppressed, the hungry, the tired, the sick, the confused, the mentally ill, the ones without hope, the ones with too much hope, the protesters, the politicians, the online bullies, the ones that are yelling out for us to listen, those in pain, the ones that always feel alone, the addicts, the outcasts, the weird ones, and the ones that you don't really understand at all. All of them. One job: to care. And I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry it doesn't come with a big gold ribbon. But this is what is asked from those that are made from the mud. The water is flowing, friends. Do not let your mud dry out just yet. It's lonely work. Wandering alone in the wilderness, being a caretaker, casting your vote. This is all hard work, not pointing fingers, not blaming others, and trusting in God is hard work. As we start Lent, I want us to think about what kind of dirt we are going to be. Will you return dried out and cracked and damaged? Will you return frail and unable to nurture the earth? Will you return waterlogged and unable to grow seeds? Or will you return moist and soft and full of nutrients? Because dust plus water equals mud, and we are mud. The water is flowing. Whatever that water is for you, the living water, the water of baptism, the water that's used for transportation, the water that's used to quench a thirst, whatever that water is for you, take it in. Take it in your hands, take it in your body, and feel that transformation. Soak it up so that we can become the best soil for God to work with. And so that we, creatures of mud and dirt, can care for the world. Thanks be to God. Amen.